Good morning, third grade. Our target for today is I can solve area multiplication story problems using pictures, graphs, and equations. We know that area is the amount of space covered by an object, the total number of square units. We also know that square unit is the unit that's used to measure area. It's a measurement whose sides have exactly the same length. Yesterday we learned that to find the area of a rectangular object, we multiply the length of the rectangle times the width of the rectangle. So for example, when we have this rectangle here that's 5 units long and 2 units wide, to find the total area, we multiply 5 times 2 to find the total area, 10. Of course, area is measured in square units. The answer to an area problem always includes square units. If I were to tell you the area of this red 5x2 rectangle we were just looking at, I wouldn't tell you the area is 10. I also would not tell you the area is 10 units, because area is measured in square units. So the area of this rectangle is 10 square units. I want you to think about area story problems. What is it that happens in an area multiplication story problem? You're right. In an area multiplication story problem, we are finding the total square units covered by a rectangular object. We're finding the area of a rectangular object. What kind of equation would you write to solve an area story problem? You know it. To solve an area story problem, we would write a multiplication equation because we know that area is length times width. You multiply the length of the rectangular object times the width of the rectangular object to find its total area. And what are some key words that might help us in an area story problem? What kind of word might you hear that would tell you, hey, this is an area problem? You're right. We might hear the word area, we might hear the word square units, we might hear feet wide or feet long. Those would all be clues that this is an area problem. We also would probably hear about some kind of rectangular object, like a garden or a swimming pool or a rug or really anything else that's rectangular that we want to find the total area of. So, to review from yesterday, area problems are problems that represent the amount of space covering the square units in a rectangular shape. How much space a rectangular shape is covering. For example, Abigail's blanket is 2 feet wide by 3 feet long. How many square feet is the area of the blanket? Key words we hear in an area problem might be long or wide or feet or inches or yards, some kind of length or distance, the word area, or square units of some kind. Here's an example of an area story problem. Liam got a new book that is 12 inches long and 10 inches wide. What is the total area of his book? Keywords in this problem would be long and wide, because we know area is length times width. Other keywords could be square inches or square feet or square yards or square centimeters. In this particular problem, inches is a keyword, and so is total area. And of course, if it's asking you about square units of some kind, then you know it's talking about an area problem. There are some different words that can mean total in an area problem. Sometimes they actually use the word area. The problem might ask you what is the area of whatever the item is. Sometimes it might say total area, but also sometimes they're a little bit trickier. It could say how many square feet or square inches or square yards or square centimeters. When it's asking you for how many square units, it's asking you what the area is. Sometimes they're even trickier. Sometimes they ask how much total space is covered. Well, we know area is the amount of space covered. So, of course, total space covered is the same as area. Total space or space covered, or even total size, or just cover, can all be words that mean the total area in an area problem. Let's take a look at a story problem, and I want you to find some key words and phrases that tell you this is an area problem. Here's the problem. Riley W's new comforter is 5 feet wide and 7 feet long. How many square feet is Riley W's comforter? In case you didn't know, third grade, a comforter is a blanket on your bed. I'm going to read that problem one more time, and I want you to think, what keywords or phrases tell you that this is an area multiplication story problem? Riley W's new comforter is 5 feet wide and 7 feet long. How many square feet is Riley W's comforter? One keyword that I noticed right away, let me grab my highlighter here, is feet wide, because I know that area is length times width, and feet wide is a width. What other keywords do you see? Oh, yes. I respectfully agree. Feet long would be another keyword or another set of keywords, I should say, because of course we know that area is the length, how long something is, times the width. Do you see any other keywords that might help us know this is an area story problem? Let me give you a hint. Do you see any words that are asking you about the area? Look in the question. Oh, yes. I see it says how many square feet is the comforter. Well, I know that square feet is the same as area. Area is square feet. So when it's asking me how many square feet is the comforter, it's really asking me what is the area of the comforter. And do you know what, third grade? I actually see one more keyword. This word comforter is kind of a keyword for me too, because I know that comforters or blankets that you have on your bed are usually rectangles. I have the background knowledge that a comforter, a blanket, is in the shape of a rectangle. And I know that area problems, area multiplication problems, are always finding the total square feet or area of a rectangular object. Let's go ahead, third grade, and look at our problem-solving process. Our problem-solving process is the same process we saw yesterday and the same process we've been using since the start of the year, anytime we solve a story problem. First, we read and understand, asking ourselves what do we know and what are we trying to find out. Then we plan, we determine the problem type, and we organize our information. After that, we solve. We choose the operation, do we add or subtract or multiply, and solve the problem. Pardon me. And of course, then we look back and check. We look back at our work and answer, and we ask ourselves, is this answer reasonable? Here's the problem we're going to be solving together today. Grandma made a quilt that is 7 feet long and 6 feet wide. What is the area of Grandma's quilt? We're going to start with step 1 of the problem-solving process, reading and understanding. What do we know and what are we trying to find out? Let's read the problem again, and as I read, I want you to really listen for any key details that we're going to use to solve the problem, any information that they give us. Grandma made a quilt that is 7 feet long and 6 feet wide. What is the area of Grandma's quilt? Ooh, right away, I heard it tell me that the quilt is 7 feet long. I know that that's a length, and that area is length times width. So 7 feet long is going to be a piece of information I'll need. What is the other piece of information in this problem? Yes, 6 feet wide is the other piece of information. This quilt is 7 feet long, that's one piece of information, and 6 feet wide, that's the other piece of information. Now I'm going to read it again, and I want you to think, what are we trying to figure out? What is the question this problem is asking? Grandma made a quilt that is 7 feet long and 6 feet wide. What is the area of Grandma's quilt? The question in this problem is, what is the area of Grandma's quilt? Let's go ahead and read this one more time and look specifically for key words that tell us this is definitely an area multiplication story problem. Grandma made a quilt that is 7 feet long and 6 feet wide. What is the area of Grandma's quilt? Ooh, right away, I heard the word quilt. And I know that quilts are a kind of blanket and they're usually rectangular. So we're talking about a rectangular object, a quilt. I know area story problems are always finding the area of a rectangular object. Let's look for some other keywords. I also noticed it says feet long. Oops. I also noticed it says feet long. Of course, feet is a length, and long means the same as length. Area is length times width. So the fact that this is telling me it's 7 feet long, ooh, that's giving me a clue. This is an area problem. Do you see any other keywords that help us know this is an area problem? I agree. Feet wide also helps us know this is an area problem because, of course, area is length times width. The width is how wide something is. So feet wide is a width. Do you see any other keywords that really tell us this is an area problem? Look at the question. Oh yes, the question is literally asking us to find the area. It's asking what the area is. So of course, this is an area multiplication story problem. Now third grade, it's time for step 2 of our problem solving process. Determine the problem type, today we know it's area, and organize the information. We're going to organize the information first in a graph and then with a drawing. Let's look at the story problem. It's telling us that this quilt is 7 feet long and 6 feet wide. I'm going to take the first piece of information, 7 feet long, and put it horizontally on my graph. It will be the horizontal side of my rectangle. There. My other piece of information, 6 feet wide, will be the vertical side length of my rectangle. So I'll put that information there. Now that I know this is going to be 7 feet long and 6 feet wide, I'll go ahead and draw my rectangle. There it is. We can see what Grandma's quilt might look like. It's 7 feet long and 6 feet wide. Of course, if I wanted to find the area, I could count all of the squares, but we'll save that. Now I'm going to go ahead and make a drawing. Well, again, I know that this is a rectangle, and I know it's 7 feet long and 6 feet wide, so it's a little bit longer than it is wide. I'm going to go ahead and label my sides, 7 feet long and 6 feet wide. Now, I see that I've drawn this rectangle, but I have to remind myself, what is this rectangular object? According to the story problem, this is Grandma's quilt, so I'm going to label it Grandma's quilt. Because I do not know the total number of square feet, the story problem doesn't tell me that. In fact, it's asking me to find the area. I'm going to put n, square feet, because I don't know the total number of square feet. I don't know the area of the blanket. Now let's go ahead and look at this question. What does 1 square represent in this problem? Well, I know that if I counted every single square in this rectangle on the grid, it would tell me the total area, or all of the square feet, in the quilt. So if all of the squares are all of the square feet, what is one of the squares? You're right. One of the squares is 1 square foot. 1 square represents 1 square foot in this problem. Now that we've read and understood and planned this problem, we're ready to move on to step 3, solving. We're going to choose an operation and solve. We know that this is an area story problem and that the rectangular object, the quilt, is 7 feet long and 6 feet wide. What operation will we use? Will we add, subtract, or multiply to solve this problem? Of course, we'll multiply. We know that to find the total area of a rectangular object, you multiply the length times the width. That's the total area. In this problem, the quilt is 7 feet long and 6 feet wide. So what multiplication equation will we write to solve this? Absolutely, we'll write the equation 7 feet long times 6 feet wide equals n, the total number of square feet. On a piece of paper, go ahead and solve 7 times 6. Don't forget to use a strategy to help yourself if you don't know this fact. What does n equal in this problem? I agree. N equals 42 because 7 times 6 equals 42. Now we need to answer the question in this word problem. I like to look back to remind myself what it says. It says, what is the area of Grandma's quilt? Make sure to include the units in this problem, square feet. Okay, go ahead. What would be a great third grade answer for this problem? Yes, I agree. A great third grade answer for this problem would be, the area of Grandma's new quilt is 42 square feet. We're ready for the final step of our problem-solving process, looking back and checking to make sure our answer is correct. Look at the picture we drew. 7 feet long and 6 feet wide. Is that the correct information from the story problem? 7 feet long, 6 feet wide. Yes, it sure is. We multiplied to find the answer because length times width equals area. That makes sense. And 7 times 6 does equal 42. My answer matches the story problem. So, my answer is correct. Thank you for solving Airy story problems with me today, 3rd grade.